Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you to everyone that joined in, especially everyone that organized this event. It's a first, but it's not unusual. I think we saw some themes in the talk that we'll discuss, but in the previous talk we just saw one of the themes was that you need community. And that's an important part of platform engineering because every platform's kind of different. So we need each other. And welcome to everyone today. I want to kick off the panel, of course, with having everyone introduce themselves instead of me, because I think we introduce ourselves better. So if you want to start, Nicki, if we can do who you are, what your company is, and a one-line definition of platform engineering. No copying off her.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, my name is Nicki Watt, and I'm the CEO, CTO of OpenCredo. We're a hands-on software development consultancy based here in London, and we help our clients build distributed systems, and we do quite a lot of work in the platform engineering space, so building cloud-native servers and cloud-native systems for a variety of different organizations. So that's me, that's OpenCredo, and we're one of the sponsors. So in terms of what platform engineering is, so I would say platform engineering is it's the discipline of doing whatever it takes, and that includes social and technical work to be able to do the heavy lifting for the teams and enable them to actually deliver the services, the software delivery terms to deliver the services to your end users reliably, securely, and in an effective way. And that's for all communities. So that's my definition of platform engineering.
I don't think your literacy teacher would agree that was one sentence, but that was a very inclusive sentence. Colin.
Great, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Colin Humphreys. I'm the CEO at Syntasso. We create Kratix, which is a platform engineering framework. So please do have a look at Kratix. So for my definition of platform engineering, I think it's the natural evolution of a process that started with Dev and Ops and became DevOps, and now we have platform engineering. I think the next step on that journey is towards platform as a product. So I think we're on this journey of learning together about how to deliver effective software and services. And I think platform engineering is just another step on that journey that we're making our way along.
Yeah, we're just ignoring the one sentence. That's okay, Kaspar, go.
Or
you can just say DevOps is dead and just not say anything else.
I'll just say exactly. I'm Kaspar. I work for a company called Humanitech, and we build products and components for platform engineers to help them build internal developer platforms. My one sentence would be platform engineering is the discipline of crafting golden paths that help developers self-serve with low cognitive load and drive standardization across the entire stack. Was that one sentence?
I think that counts. Good job.
Okay, great.
Your company kind of invented the term platform engineering or streamlined it, so we use it. So that's good job. Good job. So it's not just us up here. I want to make sure those in the audience today at London, the first IRL event of PlatformCon, also gets to ask questions. So there are amazing volunteers and teams with mics. So if you have a question, please raise your hand at any point. But now I'm going to ask you all a question. We just want to get a vibe for the level of everyone on their platform engineering journey. So raise your hand if you're just getting started. You're here today because you're figuring it out. Okay, great, okay. Oh, it took a lot of time to raise those hands. I would say that's about a third of the audience, but we're a little shy about that. That's okay, don't be shy. We're here to learn. So raise your hand if you've come up with an MVP or maybe a thinnest viable platform. Okay. What about anyone that's laid down those golden paths and maybe has 50% adoption rate? Anybody in the room? Wow, okay, congrats. And then does anyone have, let's put it 90%? 90% adoption rate or more of your platform. Awesome, congratulations. Considering this term is probably about 2 years old, that's pretty good. And then, because this gets to everything, and it's been 13 years doing this tech storytelling job I've been doing. Raise your hand if you have good documentation. No, Not just your platform, add anything in your company. Okay, that's pretty on par, 13 years, and 13 years of hearing developers saying the thing they most want is better documentation, and 13 years of developers not wanting to contribute to documentation. So that was actually surprising for me in the video that came up so far in the journey they went on. I think that was a really great journey to kick off with. So in your experience, I think they've definitely progressed more than the average person in the room. So in that start of their journey, or in your experience, how is a platform began, and how much did Hellman's resonate with y'all? Go for it, Nick.
All right. So from our perspective, we see a few journeys. Customers go on these journeys. So I'd say this is actually quite typical of what you would generally kind of see. People start off, trying to figure things out. There's a bit of experimentation. You learn about things, and then you realize, oh, actually, we've got to do things a little bit differently. So I think one of the things that did resonate with me is the sort of realization as people goes on that actually they're kind of moving towards more of this platform as a product type setup. So the need for a product owner, the need for proactively actually reaching out to your sort of customer base to figure out what do they need. And that, I think, is something that we see a lot of people going on that journey. So quite often people will start with the technical things and then realize, actually, I need to bring in some of the people side as well. So I'd say it's a typical journey, and that's one of the things that, stood out for me.
So I love developer surveys. I think that's the greatest way to know you're actually building it, because there's this whole habit of platform engineers think they know what's best instead of asking their developer customers. So can each of you provide some questions as you're starting this, as a lot of people in the room are starting this journey? What are some questions you should be asking your developers, and how do you go about finding out what they want or need?
Yeah, that's a great question. Pardon me. I think that cuts to the core of what we're trying to achieve here. I think it's already mentioned a couple of times that the purpose of the platform team should be to make life easier for the application teams they serve. It's just really that simple. We talk about reducing cognitive load. That's quite a complex concept to understand. I think just talk about how can I make life easier and better for the application teams in my organization? So the role of the platform team should be to get those application teams as close to their customers as possible. Should be thinking, how do I get my application teams focused on their customers, delighting their customers, making money for the organization, rather than having to think about spinning up infrastructure, managing infrastructure, lower level concerns. So the platform team should be pushing their application teams as close as possible to their customers. And you kind of do that by asking them about, what happens in your life? Walk a mile in their shoes. Think about, where do they waste their time? Go and do, I think, one of the most missing elements I see in platform teams is designers, user-centric designers who are there to empathize with the application teams and actually really understand what their life looks like and how they can move the needle. So trying to find where the application teams are wasting time, what they're doing that is effectively undifferentiated heavy lifting. Like, what are the things that are common across the application teams? That should be the focus of the platform teams. Your platform team should be looking for things that are unique to your business but common to your application teams. And that is what they should build into the platform. So having that mindset, learning about what those things are, and building them into the platform, that should be your focus. So asking those questions.
But I just wanted to follow up. What would be those questions that people in this audience are asking? How do you get that out of people?
Yeah, I think I mentioned, firstly, do actually, when I say walk a mile in their shoes, go and be a member of that team for a period of time. Go and actually work with them. Go and pair program with them. Go and observe. Go and do those things. Because you can ask people, how do you spend your time? But often people have a misaligned perception about their time. So go and actually walk a mile in their shoes, as I say. Pick 3 teams to work with first. Go and understand and empathize with those teams. Go and work out how they are spending their time. And then look for the low-hanging fruit where you can have the biggest impact to reduce their risk and their waste and increase their productivity.
Kaspar?
So I think platform engineering is a lot like building a startup. And I think that's what's making it so interesting. You're building a product and then you have users. And I think the interesting question that we're all battling is, do you ask your users whether they want an iPhone, or do you give them a first version of an iPhone and then let them play with it and say, this is the reality, now what sucks about this? There's so many failure stories out there of platform engineering, increasingly amounts of failure stories. And then it's always, hey, you know, we've not really talked to developers. And I'm wondering, like, I think a lot of platforms get well crafted and rounded through failures. I think failures are incredibly important. When we, this is sort of my third product-based startup. When we started Humanitech very early, it was around optimizing microservices. It was like 6-7 years ago. And because we wanted to be proper citizens, we made huge surveys, 700 agencies, like, what do you want? And we are building this thing, and this is a clickable prototype. And I think, I don't know, 400 said, yeah, this is amazing, we would definitely use it. We spent an incredible amount of time building this, and we iterated. And then once you said, like, here you go, why don't you use it? Nobody used it. Like, not 10%, 0. And I think that's a really important lesson. There's a huge difference for a user to say, I would use this, and then to actually use this. Those things don't really have to have anything to do with each other. So I think the technological part of platform engineering is not a solved one, but the system setups we all have are more comparable to each other than we think. This is really a problem of culture, and this is maybe a little bit of a provocative thought, but I think you should ship your MVP, you should show people the iPhone, and then you should ask them, what sucks about this? And the art is not taking more than 4 to 8 weeks for your first version, saying, here you go, does this help you? Let's iterate.
It's a really great question. Also, what makes you angry in your work? What is the most annoying, frustrating part of your job? And not just for your 10X engineers, especially those onboarding and joining the company. That also makes them feel safer in the company as they're coming on.
Yeah, maybe just to add to that, some of the questions that we typically ask, and even to the end teams is, you know, what is your biggest pain point? So what is the thing that you're really struggling with in terms of the thing that needs solving? And because sometimes we find that as platform teams, they'll build the cool things, and I think that was said in the talk as well. You think, I'm going to build this cluster thing, and people can configure things in YAML. And then the question I'd say, have you actually spoken to the users about that? Do they want that? Is it will it be helpful to them? And quite often they might say, well, actually, no, that's not really my biggest problem. I really need to be able to connect to this database, or maybe that's the first thing that needs to happen. So actually finding out what the biggest pain point is and making sure that your platform teams align with that is important. So I think we do need to give them, put things out there, but if you just put it out and you never actually kind of engage with them in the first place about what the important thing is, then that can be, you can build the wrong thing, which you don't want to do.
So it's interesting because, Colin, when you were defining platform engineering, you said it's kind of a journey. You missed the original #Agile, but then you went to DevOps, then you went to, which DevOps really just has developers in the name, that's it, and it just puts more on them. And then you said it was platform engineering and then platform as a product, but it seems like for platform engineering to be successful, you need that product mindset. So I want to clarify a term we've been saying, users or customers. They're your colleagues, so that makes it both easier and harder, because you can get feedback from them. You're going to get more direct feedback from them than your external customers, but they are your customers. So let's get more into what is platform as a product, because a lot of people here are starting out, and how they can start out on their platform engineering journey with a platform as a product mindset.
Awesome, thank you. So I think platform as a product's been on its own journey. A lot of learnings happened around that. So if we start with our kind of first generation platforms, things like Cloud Foundry, Heroku, they weren't customizable. They couldn't be bent kind of to the user's needs. They were exactly what they were. And I think we're going on this journey where platform engineering is just one of the 3 elements of any high functioning team, because you've got to have your engineering, but as you've just heard, you've got to have platform product management, and you have to have platform design, thinking about your users and empathizing with your users. So I think a balanced platform team has all 3 elements: the platform engineering, the platform product management, the platform design. This doesn't necessarily mean, by the way, you immediately need to go and hire a designer, hire a product manager. These things are responsibilities that can be borne by different people on the team, but you do need to have those skills, because if you just do lots and lots of engineering and you aren't thinking about your users and their lives, and you aren't thinking about what does the company actually need, then you're going to have a real challenge. And I think the first main problem that I see with people who are doing just platform engineering and aren't thinking with empathy for their users is when they mandate that the platform must be used by everybody. Because the first time you say everybody must use the platform, if you're going to ship anything to production, it goes via this platform. You've just lost your most important feedback mechanism, which is whether or not people are choosing to use it. So if you have like a CTO mandate that says thou shalt use the platform, hooray, we got 100% adoption. The platform is a massive success. But it doesn't matter how terrible it is at that point in time, because everyone's been forced to use it or they're going to lose their jobs. So you have to think about, how do we get good feedback loops in place? How do we get the right measurements, the right metrics for the platform, so we can learn, we can iterate, and we can adapt? And that leads me on to the second thing that platform engineering teams really do wrong, is the entire build it and they will come style of thinking about things. I think Kaspar made some great points about this. Ship something early, ship often, get feedback. You have to do those things. I've worked with so many platform teams that have spent 3 or 4 years building the world's best platform without ever talking to their users at all, because the platform engineering team knows best. So if you mandate use of the platform, or you do a build it and they will come approach, you're going to fail. You have to think beyond platform engineering, start thinking about platform design, platform product management. How do you empathize with your users, and how do you make their lives better?
I want to ask another question of the audience. No judgment. I really think we need to ground ourselves in this, because this whole idea of platform engineering has risen for 2 main reasons. Cloud native tooling is bananas complicated and can't fit on this screen, let alone your computer screen. And we're trying to do more with less. We've got tighter teams, we've got certainly tighter budgets. We can't all have this extreme developer tooling and autonomy and all. So with that in mind, we're envisioning, I think, a lot of roles in the platform team. Raise your hand if you have 2 or more people on a platform team. Keep it up if you have 4 or more. 6 or more? Okay, that's good to know. We probably have about, everybody in this audience seems to have a platform team already, which I think is really exciting, because they're able to do that. And then you don't need a lot of people to do this. Like Intercom, I think, has 5. Our VO Health, which is a mix of a couple massive healthcare companies, has 3. So I think it is something you can do with any size team. Even if we learned from Hellman's, they're dealing with a company of 40,000 in 54 countries. That's a lot of debt to work through. So where else do you get started with this, Kaspar?
Yeah, there's one more point that I want to make around asking your users, because I think this is such an important thing to get right early. And I think this, and then the second thing is choosing the right first team to start with, making sure you're focusing on a subset of your users rather than trying to solve everything at once. But if we are actually looking at the user definition, it's really important to also understand that you, and I think somebody at Syntasso said that resonated a ton with me. I think Abby, that platform engineering is a multiplayer game, right? That's such an important sentence. And if we would just ask in other words, I don't think we can have a very narrow user persona focused on the application developer. And that is a big driver of platform engineering initiatives that we are already seeing failing, or that we will see over the next years. If you overly optimize the experience of one group, but this goes at the expense of the other group, in other words, the actions and the optimized actions of one group actually lead to negative external effects on the security team, on the infrastructure groups, on the product teams, you are probably going to run into problems. So if you ask the developer, and that goes in many directions, hey, what can we improve? And they say, we're actually fine. We're just sending a ticket in ServiceNow, and then I can, make myself a coffee, and I really enjoy drinking coffee. Then that's fantastic. But these tickets, they land somewhere, right? And you'll have these operations people that have to bash through them, and they're incredibly repetitive and boring. You have security teams that are still reading Terraform files, making sure they're fit for production. That means you're optimizing the experience of the developer at the expense of the operation teams. And these things don't scale. And a good sign, and I think actually platform engineering teams should be small. If you're not able to detach the growth of your platform engineering group from your development teams, and they scale linear, you have a problem, because it means that you're essentially becoming a de facto operation teams that has to keep up with manual work. So in good setups, the platform groups are small, and even though the population on the platform is growing, the platform team is staying where it is. And I think that's very, very important.
How do you decide what is your first customer team?
Yeah, so this is one of the most fascinating questions that I think a lot about at the moment. The first team has to be on the lowest common denominator tech stack. What I mean by that is, if you think your future is, and I don't want to use brand names, but this managed Kubernetes provider, and your internal goal is to bring, I don't know, this to 60% estate coverage, you probably want that team to be on that target because you want to have it future-proof. Second, it's really important that this team, and this is strange, but this team should not be too mature. They shouldn't be too self-confident, right? Those shouldn't be the ones that are the loudest, the kernel hackers, the ones that feel incredibly comfortable with Helm charts and Terraform. Because the level of maturity your platform needs to have to actually convince them to jump is so high you won't be there in the first 12 to 18 months. You will get there, but you're not there very early on. So this team has to be on the lowest common denominator tech stack. It has to be not super mature. It really has to feel the pain. It has to... You want to have a team that really wants to be the pioneers, do something for the first time, and that are willing to jump. And so you should spend an incredible amount of time calibrating that first team. If you get that wrong, the initiative is very likely going to go into shaky waters.
Bringing it back to the video for a bit, I think there was something they said that was very interesting. They made two statements that seemed kind of at butting heads with each other. So the first idea is that all organizations are different. Platforms arguing that within that organization, maybe not all workflows have to be different. Not all tools have to be different, but we have this idea that every company is different. But then on the other hand, they say, don't build it yourself. So Nicki, first, when you're working with companies, when are you coming in? Have they already tried to build something? Or are you working from scratch? And then how, especially with this audience that a lot of people are early in the journey, how do you decide when to build, when to buy? Because again, one of Colin's colleagues, Abby Bangster, gave the best definition I know of platform engineering, is that you are working on the important but non-differential shared work. So anything that is not helping, you don't want application developers working on things that are not differential. Deploying to cloud doesn't make them different from other people. So you need to work on how you can help them continue on and release faster, not distract them. So I guess if you think about it, platform engineers' jobs are not to build another platform. I find a lot of app companies build their own websites and then have to maintain their own websites. And I'm like, why? That's not what you're differentiating. So how can a platform engineer make sure they're not getting into that common developer trap of building something that they then have to maintain? How do you decide what tools, what to build, and when?
Yeah, so I think when we come into companies, they're often at different stages. Sometimes people they've tried to build a platform and it actually hasn't worked. So they've kind of got stuck, or they've tried to do it a few times and it hasn't really yielded the results they're looking for. So that's one sort of scenario that we come in, and then others less so, where it's greenfield and they're just building something from scratch. I'd say there's always a brownfield something. Everybody's got a platform of some sort. You may not know it, but you do have that. And so one of the things that we'd often kind of do is you need to understand what it is you're starting from. So you need to be able to kind of say, well, what is my common denominators, or what is my platform? Even if it is a few shell scripts, or it's a few things, you're going to have something. So understanding where you are so that you can work out, where you're going to. So that's, that's in terms of the journey. In terms of making sure that people sort of build the right thing, as we say, I think it's really about you want to work out what is unique for your business. So I think we see a lot of people at the moment which are still building Kubernetes clusters on their own sort of on-premise situations and stuff like that. And I think it's getting sort of few and far between where those cases are still valid. Like the opportunity to make use of services in the cloud really accelerates a lot of your sort of capabilities. And so what we would often kind of say to people if they're building their own Kubernetes clusters and they're spending an enormous amount of sort of people power to do that, you'll say like, is this really helping, or could you maybe look at something like EKS or something like that to make life easier. So I think asking those questions and trying to just put it in front of people that is this really giving you bang for your buck? And something which we actually find is helpful sometimes, and I don't know if you've come across this, but there's something called Wardley mapping. And it's actually quite a nice way of, you can kind of plot what is commodity and what is unique to my business. And then you plot where your different, sort of pieces are. And if you are investing a lot of time in something that is commodity, you need to be asking yourself, am I doing the right thing, or could I be getting, more bang for my buck? And I think that's what they were saying in the talk as well.
Thanks. That was awesome, Nicki. So agreed with everything you've just said. I think I mentioned this earlier. Maybe I got slightly overexcited and I tried to pack far too much into my intro. So I want to unpack a statement that I made earlier on. Just trying to say that your platform team, you should curate what is available that's out there. Like, always think of bringing the best of the market to your organization. So the things that are out there that are not unique to your business that you can bring in, the best databases, CI/CD systems, whatever, all of those off-the-shelf tools and services you can bring in, you should be curating them and making them easily available in your organization. So bringing your own compliance, your own governance, your own security on top and making those things available. The things that are unique to your organization but common to your application teams, you should be creating. So you are adding that layer yourself. So if it's something you can offer to your application teams that is really going to drive out their value, really improve their lives, that doesn't exist because it's a need that's unique to your business, create that at the platform layer. But you should leave your application teams to doing things that are unique to them. So each application team should be driving its own unique value. So it's like a 3-layer setup. Take things that are products or commodity off the shelf, curate those things and make them available for your business. The things that are unique to your business, you should be creating them and adding them to your platform where necessary. But you should leave the application teams to the things that are unique to each team. Because obviously, if you're bringing those things into your platform, that isn't able to be reused across the business. So you don't get that kind of multiplier effect from that value. So platform has to sit at this unique level. And you really have to think about composing your platform from things that are created and things that are curated, things that are off the shelf and things that you've added. So you can always think about adding extra services, on-demand resources to push your application teams closer and closer to their customers.
Yes. Every ogres are like onions, every layer is different, every company is different, etc. But we've all spoken with so many different companies. There must be patterns. What are people looking for? What are typically, at most, the vast majority of organizations, what do they want more of?
So, sorry, do you know? I said that before. I think we are all way more similar than we all think. Like the thing that I love most about my job is that I have the sort of great privilege to look into so many different setups and see so many people struggling and I honestly, if I would need to describe the standard case that we're seeing, it more or less all looks the same. It's probably, EKS using GitHub Actions and Terraform and HashiCorp Vault, and I can use, 3-4 more brand names, and then you have pretty much the standard setup. And my take is, that's fine, and we should use that build and blend approach. Will you ever be able to run Kubernetes better than the large cloud providers or more cost efficient? I think by now you're absolutely correct. The answer is probably no. So I honestly believe that if we're not indoctrinated and we have an open mind and we're not afraid that we are, and I think we all are a little bit afraid that this feeling of being a craftswoman or man in a little shop and we want to build the stuff ourselves is now replaced by commoditization, and we can't be as creative anymore, and we want to build something. And I wouldn't be worried about this, right? We're building these essentially huge digital factories. It's incredibly difficult and challenging, and there's so much to do, and we're just scratching the surface. I mean, look at us here for the last years. Like we're so early on in that wave. You're all part of this. You'll have enough to do for the next 10, 20 years, and I wouldn't worry about this. So we have to make sure we actually focus on the hard bits on the frontier. And so I actually believe the things where I really see a large variety is not the technology, but where all of you are very different from each other are the respective cultures of the organization. Because Hellman Logistics is so different from Barclays, is so different from JP Morgan, although they're in the same industry. And so platform engineering, the tough part is actually in the people, in the culture, in making sure you're speaking with them the right way, making sure you're designing the roadmaps in the right way, and that is the thing that you have to nail.
If I could just jump in there. Maybe it's good to have differences on a panel, by the way. So we've been absolutely agreeing so far. Maybe this is a tiny nuance that's there, but in a previous lives, I was CTO at a company called Pivotal. If you know Pivotal Software, we did Pivotal Cloud Foundry, Pivotal Labs, Pivotal Greenplum, a whole bunch of stuff that was there. So Cloud Foundry, as you know, Generation 1 PaaS. So we tried to take Cloud Foundry out to the entire world. And Cloud Foundry was highly opinionated about how you write and build your software and how you work with that software. So our theory was, all of the world's software development looks basically the same. You should write apps in this way for Cloud Foundry, so therefore Cloud Foundry is going to dominate the world. Heroku have been successful. We're going to take over the entire world with Cloud Foundry. That didn't work. Okay, just going to say that. The reason it didn't work, I'll tell you from personal experience and great cost financially to myself, was because everybody wanted to do things a little bit different. Circa 5% different. And the real challenge with that 5% was everyone had a different 5% they wanted to do different. So because of that, Cloud Foundry was, it was a successful product, but I just remember speaking to the CTO of one of the world's largest banks who said, I love Cloud Foundry, it's fantastic, but what are you going to do for the other 99% of my workloads that don't fit in Cloud Foundry? So we created a PKS, Pivotal Container Service. We then took that product out to the world, became Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, and I was chief technologist at VMware. So I speak from a position of some experience here. We gave people Kubernetes, and people fail to build good platforms on Kubernetes. It's a Sisyphean task. It's infinitely difficult. So there's been this real struggle of people trying to build their own custom platforms and failing, and people trying to take off-the-shelf platforms and failing, and trying to work out how to bring that together is why I founded Syntasso. How do we kind of make that happen? So I think there is actually just enough difference in the way people want to build software that you can't give them a kind of standard setup that works for everyone. I think you need to give them something that they can bring their own differentiation to, and they can bring a highly valuable set of their own knowledge, their own skills, their own culture, their own that kind of stuff to that platform. I think it's a really difficult thing, but I think that's the journey we're on together.
Just maybe to add to that, I'd say for platforms, you generally don't want to target everything. Your platform is not meant to serve every single user in every single sort of circumstance. So one of the things that I think is important is to identify what is the 80% that you really make a difference for, and you build around that. So rather, there are going to be people, there are going to be scenarios that really just don't fit, and that's okay. They don't have to use the platform. They can maybe sort of, use something else. However, you can make a huge difference for 80% who you can really give a step up in order to kind of help them with your platform. So that's the one, I'd say, pitfall that we see, is that people try to build this one platform that covers absolutely everything, and it actually just doesn't work. So you need to give people the opportunity to, do different things in different ways, and that's one thing that we've found as well.
So with the last minute or so left, just really quick, throw out ideas of where are common patterns. Like one thing they talked in Hellman's and abstraction via APIs. Developers want to be able to abstract and build on top of it. So build it with APIs so people can. What are some other things that you're finding common patterns?
I was going to say the APIs, but okay. I have to think of something else now. I'd say one thing that is common is, I'd say, the abstraction levels are moving up. So as time goes on, that is a pattern that we're saying, is that people started off wanting to be involved with all the nitty-gritty Kubernetes stuff. But then as your companies get bigger, the abstraction level get higher, which is why the APIs are actually important. So that is a common pattern that I think you will see as your sort of organization grows, as people are happy in the beginning, but then in the end, I'm like, I just want to deploy my thing. I'm like, don't give me all this Kubernetes, whatever. Just give me an API. I want to put a few things in and deploy. So yeah.
Colin?
Yeah, I think perhaps the most important pattern, and Kaspar alluded to this earlier, is the pattern of fleet management. I think a lot of people right now are building platforms where they're handing out templates, they're handing out code, they're handing out problems to people. So if you give somebody a code base and say this is a platform and they fork it, that's a real issue. We describe this as giving someone a puppy for Christmas. It's like, oh, thanks, that's nice, but now I've got to feed it, make sure it's okay, take it for walks, just take care of that puppy in perpetuity. That's a real challenge. So I think what we need to think about is that the platform team should be taking care not just of giving people the self-service API to get hold of it, but those things that are created, they need to be taken forward on the journey for day 2 all the way to day 2000. We need to deliver people resources and the right things in your organization that are then managed and taken forward continuously in terms of security, compliance, governance, patching, all of those kind of things. If you're just handing people templates in your organization, you're giving them a problem. And the role of the platform team is to take away those problems. So please do think about not just the self-service aspect of an API, but how you're going to keep that experience going like you were providing a public cloud inside your organization. So you're managing that whole fleet. You're taking care of everybody's maintenance, security, governance, all of those things for everything that's being delivered.
Thank you. Kaspar?
I think you said it all. There's not much to add. Very good points. I think don't do platform engineering, use Heroku as a good final statement.
Yeah. And docs, again, discoverability, who does what, why were decisions made. As they talked about, they have an architectural decision record in Hellman's. These are constant refrains. So just look at who you're onboarding, how to make that easier, how to make them more successful earlier on is a great way to start, because their experience, everyone else has hit those walls again. So thank you so much to everyone that joined. Y'all will be here the rest of the day so they can bug you with their regular questions and get their stamps for the sponsor packet. And I think we have coffee break now, right?